Introducing Peacock, the new free streaming service from NBC Universal. It's hit movies, current shows, live sports, trending bits, and timeless hits. And that's why you can't not watch. Peacock. Watch for free, upgrade for more. Stream now at peacocktv.com. Law & Order SVU streaming now.
The following is a presentation of the High Spot Podcast. Making their way to the ring, talking about the world of professional wrestling, the team of Jeff Martin and the trendsetter, Bryan Perga, the Jersey Wrecking Crew.
Trendsetter, it is good to be back on the High Spot Podcast, HSP Network. Trendsetter.
I never left.
No, you didn't leave?
I never left. I was always here.
Well, then I must have taken a year hiatus because we are finally back. And we are back WrestleMania Weekend, so that's good, man. Check out our YouTube content, youtube.com/High Spot Podcast. The HSP Network is back, guys. Enjoy great shows on that. But right now, we have an awesome interview coming up with the president of damage365 Promotions, Mr. Kevin Nasta. How are you, man?
I'm good. Thank you guys for having me in. I said before, it's going to be a little weird being on the other side of the microphone.
Yeah, so like what feelings are you feeling?
See, he's
right
shy,
now?
though.
You're
He's
so
shy right
used
now.
to being...
He was like, hello, welcome. This
Yeah,
guy usually
so modest.
brings it. He's usually like, I mean, it's going to take him some time because, listen, he's been promoting this on his Facebook, on the Damage365 Facebook page, too. Like, man, you really are going to provide us with a lot of maybe some controversial content here. So maybe that's why he's just saving it up here for a little bit, and we'll see. But
Well, you know what? I have faith in Kevin. Nobody will build up expectations high as he does, and he always delivers. So I'm not expecting anything less from Kevin right
I
now.
got to ease you in.
Yeah.
If I go right off like boom, then it's going to be disappointing at the end.
All right. So first and foremost, man, of course, it's been a tough time in wrestling, just lives generally with this whole pandemic. But how are you doing, man?
Hanging in there. We're as many people know that I've taken damage365 Promotions full time now. It is a full-time gig for me. I will be doing it as my primary source of income. And, I've been busting my ass, booking people, doing a lot of store stuff. So where the pandemic was and is still a awful situation, without it, I might not have made the decision I made. So the success I did have during the height of the pandemic last year, 2020, the year that we all like to forget, could wind up being, something I'll look back on and say, hey, that's where it really took off.
It's amazing. A lot of people needed a pandemic to kind of get that, that kick in the butt. But just some things like that, you realize life is short.
Absolutely.
And you need to do what you love, right? Because once again, though, your love is wrestling, man. Like, I do. I love doing this. I mean, wrestling per se, using the air quotes, I don't really watch it anymore. It's become repetitive and overkill to me, and it just every single day it's on. I will watch WrestleMania because to me that's like an annual tradition where I'm going to sit down and I'm just going to fat out with a whole bunch of food, and I don't care because usually I'm at WrestleCon, so usually I don't even have the opportunity to do stuff like that. So
it's true, yeah.
Now I'm gonna sit home. I'm gonna eat pretty much everything I eat for the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
and I'm not gonna care, and I'm just gonna enjoy it. And I pretty much know, I'll be a little confused with some of the stuff I'm watching because I'm not familiar with what's been going on.
Yeah, you haven't been following it up to this point. Yeah.
But I got YouTube for that, so I can film myself in. But my love is baseball. And then that got robbed from me last year with no minor league baseball, so I was not able to continue my string of games worked for the Staten Island Yankees. I've been there since 2005.
It's just tragic what's happened at the whole minor leagues, just in general with what MLB is doing with that. I mean, cutting down the teams, and I know it was a big hit because the Staten Island Yankees was like a kind of destination place to go.
It was. I mean, and outside of maybe watching a game in Denver where the Rocky Mountains are your backdrop, it was the most beautiful backdrop of any baseball field in professional sports. I mean, you're just literally looking at the Statue of Liberty, dead center. Right center field was downtown Manhattan, and then off to the right field foul pole was the Staten Island Ferry. So it was just a beautiful, beautiful atmosphere to watch a game. And, we'd be watching the Macy's fireworks show during the 4th of July games, and we'd have our fireworks shows. And not only did minor league baseball not exist last year, but the Staten Island Yankees lost their affiliation with the New York Yankees, so they don't even have a team right now.
Yeah.
So Staten Island right now is, without baseball.
I mean, it's just unfortunate too, man, because again, it was in my eyes, when you would show the pictures on your social media, you'd be like, wow, this is a go-to place. And it's just, again, it's not fair what MLB is doing. It's just,
it's all about money.
It's all about money, man. And, just how you started out first. Let me just share the story of how we met Kevin, first of all, and this is great. See, folks, and this is for you guys that want to start doing interviews around different promotions. That's how me and Bryan started out. And we were working a relationship with WrestlePro. So we were like, okay, we're going to get interviews. And all right, guys, go get your interviews and stuff like that. But we didn't realize, because we were new to this game, was that there's also promoters there that are there too, and you have to, work with them and stuff like that. But we didn't know. We were young and stupid and naive. And then we met Kevin, man, who was really great with us, man. Let us interview, his guests at the time and stuff. And then after that, we just kind of have like the same philosophy, same mentalities. Yep. We always like to joke around on social media too. And he's just a hell of a guy, man. And again, for you to, take the time out and do this interview is much appreciated.
And we're Met fans, don't forget.
Suffer Mets fans, so yes. we go to the same therapist.
So there's an instant connection between Jeff and Kevin. They shared the same pain.
Oh yeah,
every single year. But not. Hey, look,
I've done it a little bit longer, but it's okay.
I'm a Yankee fan. I don't hate to admit that, but it's the different spheres that Jeff and I grew up in. He's a Met.
I don't hate the Yankees. They paid my salary for a long time.
There you go.
Yeah, it's true. But Jeff would always say what he despised the most was the Yankee
fans. The fans, man.
The fans that felt entitled, that felt that they, they could just pay whatever play they wanted for agency with money. But now that Steve Cohen is the owner, I want to know, did it give you, because when Jeff found out Steve Cohen was the owner of the Mets, he was elated. He was like, wow, now we have an opportunity here.
Tears of joy, for real.
Compete for top free agents, which before, when the Wilpons were the owners, I mean, you could barely get a big couple bats and balls.
The coupons?
Yeah, exactly. The coupons. So what does it feel now to have an owner that has that type of money that you could theoretically, in theory, go out for those big free agents?
Okay, we'll start off with, a lot of people don't know, I'm 45 years old, okay? So I've lived through a lot of really bad Met seasons. I've lived through some good ones. I was a season ticket holder for 6 years, all the way up to 2001. So I went to Citi Field in 2009. I went to the very first game. They had an exhibition game against the Red Sox, and then I went to Game 2 against the Marlins. I haven't been back since. And that was my personal protest, which everybody always says, oh, I'm not watching it no more. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. That was my personal protest, that I was not going back to Citi Field until the Wilpons were gone. Because going to Citi Field did not feel like I was going to a Met game. It felt like I was going to a museum dedicated to the LA Dodgers or the Brooklyn Dodgers. And, oh, by the way, the Mets play here. And that's what it was to me. And I did not like that.
That's what it was to Fred Wilpon and Jeff Wilpon. Right. It was more,
Citi Field was basically built to look like Ebbets Field.
Right. Which the stadium is beautiful. I mean, it's legitimately a nice shopping mall with a baseball field in the middle. So it's really, really nice. Now with COVID going on, it's going to, throw it for a loop, because now, you got to have a certain test within a certain time if you want to go to a game, or you got to bring your vaccine paperwork and blah, 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 blah. So now now it's like I feel like I'm going to like Aruba to go to a game, because I got to prove like who I am, what I've done. I'm not carrying anything. And I don't think personally I'm going to be at Citi Field this year. I'm hoping next year, but I will actively still support the team. I'm more of an AM Howie Rose listener, because I like the background noise. Watching baseball on TV is boring. I'm sorry, and I get paid literally to watch baseball. I'm an official scorer. So literally I get paid to watch baseball. I have to watch every freaking second of the game. But it's different when you're there. The sounds, the smells, everything, the atmosphere, it just makes it enjoyable, speeds up the process. When you're sitting at home on your couch, it's like, someone shoot me. So boring. Got to listen to them ramble on about stuff, especially in games where it gets out of control and they're just trying to feed time.
But we're lucky that we have Gary, Keith, and Ron, though. We're very lucky as Mets
just
fans.
Keith alone.
Yes.
He's comic relief in itself.
So we're lucky that as Mets fans, we probably have the best TV commentators.
I do. And not to be biased. Yeah. I mean, Yankees probably the worst. I'm sorry.
I would agree with you.
John Sterling, it's like the John Sterling show.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I'm calling a Yankee game.
John Sterling is a perfect example for people who've gotten into radio what not to do.
Yes.
But yet what not to do has been successful for him, so I can't hate on him.
Susan Wallen has probably the God's most annoying voice in the world.
Oh, John.
But she is probably one of the smartest people.
Yes.
And many people don't know when WFAN went on the air for the first time, the first voice was Susan Wallen.
Susan Waldman.
It was. Yes.
So, yeah. So, listen, we can do a whole baseball thing because we have actually have a podcast on the HSP Network, Subway to Shea, with Anthony Rivera, and I think you would be great on his show. So I think that's a must for to get him and Anthony together and talk about the Mets and stuff like that, and baseball in general. But we're in WrestleMania season, Kevin.
Yes.
This is why I think it's really good to talk about, just everything now, especially the pandemic and everybody that's going to head down to Tampa, right? And I think it's going to be domestic right now. It's not going to be anybody overseas. But do you feel, as far as you promoting as well, like with virtual stuff and, I guess you had the big event a month ago.
Yes.
How do you feel the vibe has been?
I think at this point, fans are going to jump at anything that has to do with wrestling. They are tired of being prevented from going to live shows, going to conventions, to fan fest, to store signings. They're tired of sitting home and watching someone sit on their ass for 3 hours selling 8x10s. They're done. They want to go to real live wrestling, and they don't even care at this point if it's some trash bag indie show. They don't care. They want to go out of their house. They want to go see a show. They want to be entertained.
And just also the big event itself, like the vibe was something like, it was people just couldn't wait to get.
It was so. Were you guys there at all?
No.
Okay. It was such a big question mark looming. Like if it was a cartoon, like a Mario game, it would be a big question mark floating above the building. Mm-hmm. That's what it was. It was just so weird because everybody was going into this building not knowing what to expect. I mean, yes, Big Show was there. Mark Henry was there. They had some nice big name guests. They went out and said, you know what? It's going to happen. Let's do what we can to bring the people in the door. The convention was supposed to run from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I was supposed to be there from 10 to 1. I had Jessica I of the UFC, and I had a former ECW star, Kimona. And I had Jessica under contract till 1 o'clock, so we were just going to leave at 1 o'clock, go get some lunch, enjoy the rest of our day, because we had to go to Albany the next day. Mm-hmm. I poke my head out at like 1:30. There's still people outside waiting to come in. Jessica sees this. She's like, I'm having a blast. Let's just stay. I said, okay. 20 after 2. Still people outside trying to get in. Okay. Granted, they had to be let in sparingly because of capacity issues, but it just showed you the dedication. And it wasn't warm outside. These people were coming in. They were shivering. And I have to, show my appreciation that, Jessica I of the UFC, because this was the first wrestling related convention that she was ever at. And she was just like, no, we're staying. She was like, these people outside freezing their ass off. And, even if 2 of them want to come meet me, I want to be here for them.
And this was February, right?
This was March. No, okay. March. The
early
first
March
weekend.
All right,
first weekend of March.
Yeah. So if you're from New York and you're in the East Coast, you know that it's still
right near the airport.
The weather is brutal, right? It's tough, and these wrestling fans are showing up there, mm-hmm. and really committed because listen, like before this whole shutdown, wrestling was like at a peak. It was like really there was a lot of demand for this stuff. Wrestling shows in Jersey, everyone was promoting double nights. You'd see the wrestlers hop onto one show, go to the next. Yep. It was booming, and then all of a sudden
chaos.
Yeah, and
beautiful chaos,
and all of a sudden just like that,
It's gone. But again, this is what we talked about before and kind of intertwining everything. You were talking about being a Met fan and being a Met fan for so long and see the dedication of fans that go to see to support their team, right? I don't know, and I'll take this to the grave with me. I don't recognize any other type of fan base, whether it be martial arts, whether it be sports, football, basketball, hockey, any sport, soccer in Europe too. They take it very seriously. I've never seen that many dedicated fans than pro wrestling fans.
Pro wrestling fans are... I have to, like I explained this to my family, who none of them watch wrestling. My wife, who despises anything that has to do with wrestling. They're a special breed of people, and that's not a bad thing. They are very, very loyal, and a lot of them are brand loyal. And you probably see it on social media all the time. Who's fighting? WWE's better. AEW's better. No, NWA's better.
Very loyal to brands.
And then you have the very small minority of people out of that group that don't care. They'll watch anything. Mm-hmm. But most of them are brand loyal. And we have the same thing when it comes to going to shows where we bring in talent, and we always will see the same fans come to our tables every show. Not that they follow us, but they know we're going. They know they can count on us. They're brand loyal to us, and they come and they show their support. The problem is that you need to reach out past the loyals. Yes. You got to get new loyals.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's always part of the business of expanding. Again, because you always want to be true to your dedicated base, but you also want to expand for other people who maybe not necessarily know about you. You want to do it too, but speaking of the convention too, Jeff was talking about the atmosphere of people wondering, what was it going to be like since it'd been taken away so abruptly, and were things going to be back to normal? There going to be restrictions? What restrictions were you informed of when you went to the big event, and what type of restrictions or precautions did you take when you're now saying to talent, hey, listen, we want you to come to a convention filled with people? What type of process are you going through now?
First thing out of my mouth was, what's the mask situation going to be? Can they take photo ops without the mask? Can they take it off, take the photo, throw the mask back on? That's pretty much what the thing was the whole show. So if they're sitting at the table and they're not taking photo ops, mask has to be on. They go to the bathroom, they go get a drink, whatever it is, they have to have a mask on. Fans had to have a mask on. They could take it off for the photo op, had to put it back on. And it was just a matter of getting them in. It's like the herd mentality. You got to get them in, get them around, get them out. That is something that the fans probably weren't used to, because, they're hanging around, they're having conversations with each other, they're all huddled in small areas, and that's what they're trying to avoid. Because don't forget, this was at the Marriott of LaGuardia Airport. There's other people staying in that hotel besides, the wrestling fans and the wrestling talent and promoters and vendors and everything else. Yeah. So these people who are coming in and out traveling are seeing this. They're freaking out. They're like, oh my God, look at all these freaking people in a small area. They start complaining. And on a couple of occasions, we had security come around and tell us, just reminding us, make sure we have the masks on, if we're not taking photo ops, blah, 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 blah. And they had to remind the fans, if you're done, move it, keep it going. Because if it's 5 people leave, 5 people come in. 5 people leave, 5 people come in. So that's something that was probably not enjoyable for fans, but I think the fans understood.
Yeah, and of course.
Wrestling fans, where they might not all agree on brand and who they like and who they hate and things like that, they all agree why they're there. And that's to meet the people that they want to meet and have a good time and try not to prevent other people from doing the same.
Are you a gig worker or self-employed? Womply has helped over 100,000 small businesses get a PPP loan. You may qualify for up to $41,000 in 100% forgivable loans. The program ends soon and funds are limited. Apply now at womply.com/apply. That's WOMPLY.com/apply.
All right, so we're getting to know Kevin a little bit here and about the promotion game, but just like brand loyalty and promotion loyalty and stuff, there's Monday Night Wars back in the day, there's also promotion wars between companies as well, man. Not only wrestling promotions here in Jersey, but there's also the promotion rivalry that we didn't know it gets heated a lot Kevin, what is up with that? Like, why can't we all get along here in this?
Well, let me just jump in there too. Let's not say that we're that naive, Jeff. We knew it existed because we've interviewed promoters before. We've spoke to them about setting up events, setting up promotions similar like yours, Kev. We just didn't know to the extent because, again, it's one thing to talk about. It's one thing to hear about what responsibilities and things you guys go through. But in terms of workings within yourself, now we know what it's like to work with fellow podcasters, fellow people who want to do interviews. We know what it's like to compete/work with them. Now, give us the aspect of the promoter side of working with other promoters and setting things up yourself.
It's been nicknamed on social media as the vendor wars.
Vendor wars, there you go.
But look, there's a difference between a vendor and a promoter. Okay, I like to think of myself as both because I've actually promoted wrestling shows. I've booked talent for wrestling shows, and I also vend conventions and fan fests and things like that. So I do both. Majority of the ones that just do the conventions and store signings, they're vendors. They want to call themselves promoters. That's fine. I don't really have a problem with that. The word promote is the key factor of how we make money by promoting our business. A lot of people will tell you it's a cutthroat business. It doesn't even have to be. The wrestling talent pool is the largest pie probably of any professional sport, if you want to call it that. There is plenty of slices in the pie. So there's no need for any of this. But the problem is that we have an older crew that's been doing this since the 90s. And then you have a newer crew that's been doing this since myself, 2012. And then you have an even newer generation that's been doing this within the last 5 years. Those generations clash and they don't get along. So now you have to say, all right, how can we all coexist and how can we all make money and how can we all have a piece of that pie? There is definitely ways of doing it, but you have to be willing to do it.
Where do you think the clash is, though, in the ways how business is conducted, as opposed to to go through the rankings of the proper channels to acquire something, as opposed to being sleazy or in some way of, hey, listen, I can give you more if you don't book with this guy.
I think it's also too who's the first at getting that person.
It is most times, but not all the time. Everything basically that happens that's negative is based off jealousy. That's I can't even use another word. It's just plain old disgusting jealousy. And I can give you what I do to book a talent. First thing you want to do is obviously find a contact for this talent. Now you can't call, and most times you can. There's people that have contacted me wanting to get contact for talent that I've worked with, and the first thing out of my mouth is, let me contact them and make sure it's okay for me to pass along their information. Who am I to give someone's phone number? That's not my place. There's other promoters that absolutely not. I'm not giving you their phone number. Why? They're not yours. They don't belong to you. They work with a million other people, but because they're in your market, they don't want you making money with that talent. Or you have the even older crew, the carnies, who are like, oh, you want to contact? $500.
Yeah.
Hit the bricks, pal. Like, are you kidding me, really? Seriously, get out of here. And that's where the problem is. So I reach out to the talent. First thing out of my mouth is the dates. Once we get the dates in there and they check their schedule, and then we start getting into conversations about the details of the booking and then the financials of the booking and then what we're responsible for on our end and what they're responsible for on their end. Just don't think the talent's not responsible for anything. They're responsible to help promote, conduct themselves like adults when they're here, or they're going to be on an early plane home, or just, showing up and being professional. That's really it. We're responsible for the flights, the hotels, the ground transportation, the gimmick, the table money, everything, feeding them, whatever it is, we're responsible for them. We're the Uber as well as the promoter. So we have to make sure that they're taken care of. So if we sublet to someone else and say, hey, can you pick up this person at the airport and we have to make sure that that person's trustworthy. That person is going to pick them up. That person knows how to drive, and that person gets them to their destination safe. So it's not just a matter of, oh, you know what, take an Uber and, you know, charge me for the Uber. That's just a lazy way. And that doesn't show the talent that you're going the extra mile to make sure that they're taken care of. That's where it boils down to loyalty. When you're saying whoever gets them first, it doesn't even have to be a matter of who gets them first. Most wrestling talent remembers who took care of them best. So now somebody goes up to talent A and says, hey, I'll give you $2,000 to do big event this coming November. Okay, no problem. You know, let me think about it, blah, blah, blah. Then another wrestler promoter contacts them and says, hey, you know, talent A, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. Now you got a nice rapport going. They've worked together before in the past, yada, yada, yada. Now they're going to lean towards the person who's loyal to them, the person who's taken care of them in the past. It's not always money. You know, I work with Eric Bischoff a lot. Okay. A lot of people you see don't work with Eric Bischoff, and it's because they can't afford Eric Bischoff. It's not a matter of money when I work with Eric Bischoff anymore. It's a matter of he knows I'm going to take care of him. He wants to make sure I make money when he's there, and he'll do anything he can to make sure that happens. Eric Bischoff is a very loyal guy to me. I'm sure he's loyal to other people, but to me, he's one of those people that I know that if I call him and say, hey, you know, you want to do this date, he's going to do it, and he's going to shut everything else down to anybody else in that time period. You know, and I can tell you here exclusively and break the news right now that, you know, the soon-to-be WWE Hall of Famer Eric Bischoff will be with damage365 Promotions at Big Event in November, and he's already told me he's not doing anything else in the Northeast until Big Event.
It's awesome. And that's that word that Kevin brought up, loyalty.
Yeah, man.
It's not something that in terms of, like he said, pricing, he's established that through him being a professional. Similar to what Jeff and I tried to do when we first started up doing this. I always said to Jeff, and I stole this little phrase from, you know, the whole Shawn Michaels DVD thing that I used to watch. It's perception is reality. Well, I actually stole from Chris Jericho. Perception is reality.
There you go.
If you perceive to be professional and you're following the same routes and people see that, they're going to lean more towards, you know, hey, I want to work with this person again because I know that they're going to conduct themselves in the manner that I enjoy, and that's what Kevin's done, and Eric Bischoff's just a perfect example of that.
His whole staff is like first class. Kevin's like I said, we've seen him. We saw you at the WrestleCon down in New Orleans. It's just a really well put together.
It's like a machine.
It is.
Does it feel weird? Does it really feel weird?
It's like a conveyor belt.
It is. It really is. But does it feel weird now that you're saying that come WrestleMania time, you're going to be sitting home eating up food like the Super Bowl? Is it weird now preparing for it?
I didn't do the one in New York. Because it is right in our backyard, and we do so much work in New York and New Jersey. I just didn't feel it was worth it. Mm-hmm. But this past year with, you know, the one that was it's supposed to be in Tampa last year that didn't happen, I wasn't actually doing that one either. So technically it would have been like 3 straight years anyway that wasn't going to do it. We just did one in Orlando, and one thing I've learned over the years is that when WrestleMania hits a town that it's recently just been, the pool of opportunities to make money, it's drained. Yeah. You know, New Orleans, everybody was complaining that they did less money in New Orleans in 2018 than the prior time it was at the Superdome.
That place was cramped as hell.
It was, and it's no knock on High Spots and the WrestleCon team. I mean, the hotel is the hotel. I mean, there's nothing, they can't stretch the building open, but it was on multiple floors, and the escalators were crammed, and the elevator had 30-minute waits. And, you know, just to get from the lower level to the third floor where we were, it was like a half hour. You know, our talent were all late. You know, they had to be there at 9 a.m. They were walking in the building at 8:40, and they weren't getting to the table until 9:15.
Yeah.
Because it took that long just to get up two flights with the escalator and then the rest of it with the elevator. But again, your options are limited, and Vince is going to make it even more limited because he's tired of people like me bringing in talent that he's paying to be there. You know, which is, it's understandable. Like I get it. That's why when they were in New York, the access was all the way on the piers in Brooklyn because they knew WrestleCon was running at the Midtown Hilton, Manhattan. So now it's like a 2-hour freaking train ride.
It is.
So screw them. So as long as we're taken care of, I don't care if they can't get to WrestleCon. And last year at Tampa, they were going to do it at George Steinbrenner Field where the Tampa Yankees play because Vince pretty much shoved them out of Tampa with the hotels.
Yeah. I tell you, man, I had read
it's
that.
not just us.
No, yeah, no, I had read that. I had read that. That was something WWE is going to try to do in advance for Tampa last year. Was try to, not having all the not just you, it's all the other events, promotions, WrestleCon, everything piggybacking off WrestleMania. And that's what it was done because it was a whole
even prior to Jeff and I attending this and doing this as we're doing it now. It's always been the scenario too where that would happen too, and I can understand in terms of scheduling conflicts and things like that becoming frustrating, but. I mean, aren't we all here to make money? Aren't we all here to, in your scenario as a vendor / promoter, you do both. It's your event to make money. It's also the talent's obligation to want to make money as well. We're just trying to get content.
I look at it like this. If I bring in a talent in town, I'm paying to fly them in and I'm paying for their hotel. Somebody else wants to use them on a different night while they were there in town. As long as they come to me and talk to me about it, 90% of the time, I'm like, you know what? Do what you want with them. Make sure you pay them. If the talent turns around, which some loyalty will turn around and say, hey, make sure that guy gives you money towards travel expenses. Don't let him off. Eric would be the first one to be like, that guy give you, money towards my flight. He's a first class flight from Cody, Wyoming. Ain't that many planes leaving Cody, Wyoming.
No, not that many.
That's not a cheap flight. That flight is probably as much as some wrestlers get paid to be here.
Very true.
So, he'll be the first one to be like, hey, make sure you get some money for the flight, because that's the way he is. He's a businessman. 90% of the time, I'm like, yeah, you need them, blah, blah, blah. But it's the people that sneak and snake and go behind your back that like, oh, so-and-so is in town, so let me text them. Oh, can you do a shoot interview with me while you're in town? Just don't tell the other guy. Just tell him, you're in a hotel or you're doing dinner. And then when the DVD comes out or whatever comes out, a month later, it's like, bro, seriously? Like I can see the background of the hotel. I paid for it. And it happens all the time. And that's where the fighting starts. It's just the sneaky, unethical, bad work ethics, and it's not even a lack of communication. It's the failure to even attempt communication.
If you're waiting for a liver transplant, you should know that the best outcomes happen when you go in healthier, stronger, sooner. That's why the Penn Medicine Transplant Institute offers living donor liver transplantation, which decreases wait time and increases survival. And at Princeton Health, our clinics offer convenient access to transplant evaluations close to home. Learn more at pennmedicine.org/liver transplant or call 800-789-PENN.
And those are just one of the pet peeves that he goes through on a weekly, daily, monthly basis when he's promoting stuff and everything. And so we want to get to the nitty gritty because you're a great follow. If you follow him on his Facebook page or on social media, he is a good follow because you kind of like, he kind of doesn't name names, but he like puts it out there that, there's a lot of shit on his mind and a lot of stuff that irks him. So, here's your chance because if I get, and let's just go first and say that if you follow him and you follow damage365, he has a list. He has actually taken the time out of his busy schedule booking people, and he's made a list of who's cool, who's not, who's shady, whatever. And if he misses a name or whatever like that, it's it's not because you burned him, whatever. It just he just didn't think thinking at the time, but you have a very comprehensive list. And
let me explain why this list was made.
Yeah, there you go.
Because
why was the list made?
Everybody was doing virtual sales, so a lot of fakes were getting passed along. Lots of fakes were getting passed along. So what does that do? It makes my job 10 times harder because now I have to prove to that customer and everybody else that read about that fake post that I now have to prove to them that I'm not that person, that my stuff is legit. You know, these people came in and did signings with me. That's why I have it. And I don't need to have to explain myself to every single person that has that question mark looming above their head about if I'm legit or not. So people are always messaging me, is this person legit? Is this person legit? Can I trust this person? Does this person's stuff real? Does this look real? Like, it failed Beckett. Is it? Boom. You know, my head is exploding. And this all goes on between the hours of like 11 at night to 3 in the morning.
Wow.
Like nonstop. And it's just like that's when I get work done. Anybody who wakes up in the morning, their timeline is usually flooded by my stuff because I do it at night. Because the first time you wake up, you read Facebook, there's Kevin, boom, 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 all the way down the line. You do it in the middle of the day, it gets shoved down. Half the time you don't get to read it because everybody's on social media during the day. So now that I just let out a nice little secret right there. But, so I just said, you know what? I'm going to make a list of promoters that I trust, vendors that I trust, the miscellaneous list of people, you know, that might be involved in doing some sales, because now everybody is a vendor. Everybody. Fans are vendors now. Mm-hmm. Wrestling promoters that run wrestling companies now are doing sales. Like, it's just everybody is trying to make money, and I understand it. It was a bad time. People have bills to pay. I get it.
And it sucks too, Kevin, because these virtual signings, I've seen them pop out more because of the whole COVID, right? This has been a situation where this was something that you didn't see that much pre-COVID, because you could have, just book a hotel room and then have them do private signings, right? Where you'd meet and greet, it was personal and stuff like that, which is cool. But now, again, with COVID, you have to do this because you want to limit the interaction, unfortunately, with the fans, and you still get autograph and a signing, you get to see the talent there or whatever. So it does suck that at these times, too, people are trying to scam. And it always happens too, and it's just it's horrible.
It's disgusting, because where I'm saying, you know, like, I get everybody's doing these virtuals and these live auctions and stuff like that because they need to pay bills. That's, you know, desperation. And then you got people who are also selling fakes for the same reason. You know, they're desperate. They got bills to pay. They're trying to jump in on what's going on, the momentum of all these sales. Terrible. I mean, you're destroying the business by doing that, because now nobody trusts anybody. And again, I have to work 10 times harder to prove my worth to people, because
which gets you frustrated, because I shouldn't have to do that.
Not over and over again,
not over and
just
over
so they can make a quick $100. Like, I mean, give me a freaking break already. Like, come on. And I tell the same people, I tell them all the time, I'm like, if you're not sure, send it to Beckett, JSA, PSA, do a quick opinion. You'll get it back within 24 hours through your email. They'll say highly likely or unlikely. If it's unlikely, move on, pass. Because once you get that item, now it's going to be a fight, because if you send it out, it takes about a month and a half to 2 months to get it back. Now it failed. Now you got to reach out to the person you bought it from. They're going to be like, F you, you took 2 months, bullshit. And how do I know it's my piece? And then they block each other, and then the shit hits the fan. And then social media posts all over the place. And I'm also an admin on a scammer's bad business practice group. So I see all this stuff come across all the time. If I was sitting at a desk, it'd be coming across the desk. And some of them I have to, and I tell the other admins, I'm like, I have to pull myself away from that. It's a conflict of interest. Yeah. Because if it's a promoter or vendor and I post it, it makes it look like it's a personal attack from my company to his. So I'm like, you guys have to handle that one. There's a lot. I'm telling you, it's like, I can't even tell you how much comes across.
By your list, there's more good dudes than bad dudes. So let's just put it out there. There's a lot of people out there that are trustworthy, loyal, and do it by the book, or try to do it the right way. Hey, if there's misunderstandings, there's misunderstandings. But if again, there's a lot of good dudes here. We've also actually interacted
and
with.
And there's
with
one
these
edit
guys.
that kind of needed.
Oh yeah. But we're going to talk about that because again. I will tell you this. Everyone knows each other in Jersey, right? Everyone knows each other. So when you say these names, I'm new to the vendors and the promoters and stuff like that. So when I hear about this stuff, I'm like, I have to do my research and be like, oh, okay, this happened, that happened. So I haven't dealt with a lot of the promoter stuff, but who are the positive ones? Let's start with the positive first. Who come to mind in your head that like, hey, listen, man, this is a legit dude that I could do business with?
As far as like a wrestling company.
Yeah, let's start with the company.
The first wrestling company I ever attended was Warriors of Wrestling in Staten Island. Joe Bellini, who didn't take too kindly at the beginning of me just messaging him and asking him to come to the show to kind of start our podcasting experience and covering a show and doing recaps and blah, blah, blah. He wasn't keen on the idea. He's never had anybody there to do it.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of right there immediately sell myself to this guy who has no idea who I am. He only knows that I used to live in Staten Island too. And turned out that he lived on the same street as a couple of my cousins, and everybody knows everybody, and yada, yada, yada. So that's how, I started there. Joe is a very difficult person, but Joe is a very loyal person to a fault. He's a really good guy. He's a good friend. He was at my wedding. I'd go to bat for him all day, every day. And he's a guy that's a little misunderstood. He's very abrasive. He says what he's thinking. He's got no filter. That rubs a lot of people the wrong way. But if they knew the amount of crap that people have done to him and the amount of people have taken advantage of him, they would understand why he is abrasive as he is. He's always got that force field up, and it takes a long time for him to bring it down.
Hey, because you're going to get eventually you're going to get shit on, or you're going to get, backstabbed, or you're going to get, just...
And unfortunately, it was people that used to work for him, that got tired of, I guess, working for him or got more money elsewhere. And then they shit on him, and they talk crap, and just leave. Like, if you're not happy, just leave. Don't leave like that, because there's other people in that roster, in that locker room that you used to work with that might've looked up to you. Now you do that. That's a bad look.
Yeah. No, it is. It's a bad look and extremely unprofessional. The mere fact, like you said, if you're done, you're done. Leave, move on your business. You don't have to share and share the details.
And look, Joe was, like I said, he's not the easiest guy in the world, so he'll be the first one to go on Facebook and blast them too. So it works both ways. Joe, I was partners with on the Women of Warriors program. We did all the women shows. Okay, we did very well. I think we ran 7 shows, everything, women's wrestling is great. Great. Women's wrestling is impossible to promote. Impossible. It is what it is. People know all these women. Fans love all these women. Then when we put on a show, where the hell are you people?
Yeah.
Streaming only on Peacock.
John Wayne Gacy killed 32.
Straight from the killer's mouth.
They want you to believe that I alone committed these murders.
The new gripping 6-part documentary series, John Wayne Gacy, Devil in Disguise. All episodes streaming now, only on Peacock.
It's tough. It's something that, yes, women are insanely talented. I mean, we just saw a match on AEW with one of your talents, Thunder Rosa.
Yep.
Put on a hell of a match, but then it's that, can you bring all these people to a place to promote and actually make money off of it? It's tough, man.
We've had some really great matches. We had the Twisted Sisters take on the Sea Stars. Okay, great tag team match. We had the Twisted Sisters take on Team Pog, which was Lou Fisto and Jordan Grace. Another great. Nobody's 75 people are watching, and I'm like, what is going on here? The fans say, "Oh, please bring this person in, please," and then you bring them in, and it's just like crickets.
Yeah, like it's tough.
It is, and they don't get their due. That's why it pissed me off with that whole WWE with the women's revolution, women's evolution, whatever they want to call it. It was a smokescreen because they really never intended to run with it. They did it to shut people up for a little bit of time, and then they just went right back to doing what they always do, and is giving women 6 minutes a program, and that's it.
Yeah. And
doing these corny little things in the back room with the women talent. I mean, you have all these women. WWE has what, like 35, 40 women on their roster between the 3 brands?
Oh, yeah.
And they use the same 6, 7.
Yeah, they don't have, they make tag team belts, and they try to get and there's so many talented girls that are there. You can't fit
break
them
up
all.
a tag team only to take one of those girls and team her up with somebody else.
Yeah.
Like,
and then you team them up for WrestleMania season just to. It's not for the belt. It's just for the storyline.
So frustrating.
But one of the Brian in 2018 was one of our as wrestling fans was the best because we went all in. We had our podcast there, and then we also did Boardwalk Beatdown.
Okay.
And,
oh wow, yeah.
And
we were there.
That was
we
fun.
We saw you there.
And we asked because Chad Minnis is on here, and we've worked with him. Hell of a guy. Really, really hardworking. But does he make the list?
Nice segue.
But is this an edit here on the?
Well, he's not the edit I was talking.
No, I know. Good.
But I don't have personal beef with Chad. Okay. That Boardwalk Beatdown to me was a well-run convention. A lot of things went on before, during, and after that, including on my podcast when Chad came on. There's a lot of stuff that shouldn't have happened, didn't make any of this situation look good, and some of it might have been far-fetched, made up, or stretched a little. Whatever. I never had a problem with Chad. Okay, when Chad was affiliated with SWF, I dealt directly with Chad. When he left SWF, I was still helping Chad book anybody he needed. You know, if he needed somebody that I worked with, I'd get him in touch with that person, and he would book them. When he did Standalone and Pro Wrestling After Dark. My only problem with Chad now is that he went back to Rob Fury with SWF after pretty much leading a anti-Fury campaign in 2020, calling him out, telling everybody that Rob Fury is a cancer to the business, that he's a liar, he's a thief, he's shady. They supplied ample amount of evidence about him stealing from charity shows, fundraisers, faking cancer, faking car accidents weeks before a show because ticket sales were bad. So now he's relying on sympathy ticket sales now. Just on and on and on and on. And then he went back to him. That's the only problem I have with Chad. You know, Chad's a nice guy, but I just don't know the thought process there because Chad can function without him. He doesn't need Rob Fury to function. Doesn't need Rob Fury's roster. Nobody needs Rob Fury's roster.
So that's the guy that obviously is on a lot of your posts. That's the guy that, to me, I believe draws your ire the most. I know there's somebody else on that list. I think he was at the top of the list of who not to work with. I think Dylan Hines. We'll get to that in a little bit. I know there's been a lot of that, so I know that.
Yeah,
but
Rob is just not a good person.
Yeah,
okay?
he's
had his he's got his demons.
Yeah.
Okay, he's admitted them. You know, so me saying him is not me throwing him under the bus. He's had demons, issues with alcohol. He's had issues with dependency, with pain pills and things like that. That's not the problem. People can, forgive and forget and be sympathetic of that. But it's all the other crap that I named. The faking, the lying, the cheating, the stealing, walking out on a show when your roster didn't get paid. He did that when he piggybacked a show with WrestlePro at Rahway. He just walked out in the middle of the show because it drew nobody. These are all facts. These are not just made up accusations. I mean, all the evidence was put out there. Chad was, front row, cheerleader of this whole campaign. That's what baffles me that he went back to him. Rob ripped me off. He did pay me back in 2020 from a booking that he ripped me off on back in 2017.
Well, what did he do?
He didn't pay the Twisted Sisters enough money that he was supposed to pay them. They didn't know until after they left because they didn't open their envelope, because some people don't like opening their envelope in front of people. It makes it seem like you don't trust them. So I'm in the hospital. So this was Cinco de Mayo. This was May 5th. And I get a phone call. I'm sitting in a hospital bed and they're like, hey, Rob shorted us $100 each. Who do you think paid for that?
Yeah.
Right here. I orchestrated that booking, so that's my responsibility.
And have you ever like sat with Chad and just been like, "Hey, is it worth it to you to just be like, hey, what's up?" Or is it just
no? Chad has gone into defense mode because Charlie and Billy of Titan Championship Wrestling and Goddesses of War Wrestling, they used to work with Fury. So once they all branched off and were like, Fury bad, now Chad's back and Chad has gone on the offensive/defensive. He's defending himself of why he went back, and then he's gone on the offensive and trashing Charlie and Billy, which is not justified because it's slander. It's not even true. But now he's trying to justify why he went back to Rob, and it's a bad look. It's a bad look for Chad, and it's a bad look for Rob. Titan hasn't responded with anything. Nothing. Anytime there's a pot shot, cheap shot, anything, you're not seeing anything from Titan in response. They're just promoting their business. And that's, unfortunately, you have to do it that way. Because if you start taking pot shots back and forth, it makes your company look bad, and then people don't want to work for you because now you got drama surrounding it.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So, and that's what these guys don't get. Coexist, agree to disagree, just do your thing, shut up. Because you're making yourself look bad and talent doesn't want to work with you. And there's a lot of Jersey wrestling, but it's the same pool. It's the same talent that comes in. It's either New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Ohio, the New England area. It's the same people. And once you get that reputation of nobody wants to work with you, you're screwed.
Oh, yeah.
So what are you going to do? So just coexist, agree to disagree. You don't get along, that's fine. Run your shows wherever you're going to run them. You run your shows wherever you're going to run them. You promote. Just forget each other exists. But the problem is that Titan has a policy where if you work for Rob, you don't have a home anymore with Titan. And I get it. I understand. These two gentlemen are former business partners with Rob. Rob stole from them for years. So I get it. But Chad shouldn't be using that as a firing point of why they should work for him. Because, you have a home for me. You have a home for me. Because then it starts getting carny and shady, and you start doing like really awful things, like calling up the talent on Titan and saying, hey, you know what? I know you get $100 per match. I'm going to give you $300 to come work with our show. Okay, well, you're thinking talent's going to get $300. Why say no, right? So now they go and work for Chad or Rob. They just lost their spot in Titan. Rob and Chad used them for one show, never used them again. Now they're out multiple homes.
Yeah.
Just so you can, cherry pick your opposition's roster. I mean, you really going to put that wrestler in that situation? That's unfair to them. And that's what's going on with that.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Experience America's favorite vape with the Vuse Alto Welcome Bundle. Get one Slate device and 3 smooth tastes with your choice of nicotine level. All for just $9.99 plus tax when you enter code WELCOME at Vuse.com. Vuse. Charge beyond. Vapor products. Underage sale prohibited. Website and offers restricted to age 21 and over tobacco consumers. Based on 2020 retail scan data of reported total Vuse Alto sales volumes.
Discover the new 3-Step Pro Partial Range, specifically designed to clean your partials and remaining teeth in 3 simple steps. Clean your partial, strengthen your natural teeth, protect your whole mouth. Stand up to further tooth loss with Polident Pro Partial. Available at Walmart.